Alrighty, welcome.
Yo.
Tampa Fishing Outfitters live fishing report. Myself, Captain Travis, Captain James, Captain Rick. We got Captain Neil here with us tonight.
In the house.
That's right. We got a good show, man. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff, interesting stuff that's going on in the Bay. I got my tournament jersey because we're talking about tournaments tonight, right?
Yes.
Different kind.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
the kind. This is the kind of
Hey.
tournament that Rick and I can compete with you and Jason.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
This is where we
All of
really make our mark, I think, in going in
I think
to
we
the
can
fall
compete
season or the
anyway.
winter season.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, man. But anyway, Neil, we appreciate you coming on the show with us tonight, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Travis.
We're gonna get into what you're doing and sort of a little bit about you here in just a few minutes.
Cool.
I think what we'll do first, guys, like always, do some fishing reports.
Yeah.
We'll dial that in.
Why don't we start with our guest?
Get to know Neil a little bit, and then we'll
wow.
talk about what he's doing. So why don't you lead it off here, Neil?
Okay, all right. So I fish out of downtown St. Petersburg, and I spend most of my time between the Gandy Bridge and Egmont Key, and I run through Bunce's and Pass a Grill a lot.
Okay.
Lately, I've been spending most of my time snook fishing in the canals around Pinellas Point, Coquina Key, all of that. And along with the snook, I've been finding a lot of flounder coming in.
Cool.
So I think that, you know, at least some of those fish that we're all expecting to move out of the passes and all of that and start to come up into the wintertime haunts, where I am, I'm seeing them now.
It's already starting to happen.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, exactly. And so in addition to that, I'm fishing a lot of the nearshore rock piles up in the bay. So between, say, 20 and 40 feet of water out there on the edges of the shipping channel, and some even closer. And we've been pulling a lot of 22, 23-inch gags, but we've managed a few keepers. And this past week, I ran a double and had the delight of my afternoon trip. We're out there catching grouper on dead bait. And all of a sudden, the bite completely switched, and we went from catching gags to catching 30-inch plus snook, one after the other.
Cool.
And they're out there in
Nice.
30 feet of water over the rocks.
Yeah.
It was just such a cool and, you know, like, just neat experience. Nobody was expecting it, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always neat when you find those snook out there in
Yeah.
some of those different places. You know,
Yeah.
I've got a buddy that fishes in Key West, and they'll catch them on the reef sometimes.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, there's certain times of the year, like you said, that these larger aggregations of snook will forage out to these nearshore rock piles that we have, and that is one of the neatest things about Tampa Bay is that
Yeah.
we've got such a diverse fishery, and the way our estuary is set up that, you know, from one day to the next, you can do different things and be targeting the same species, but in different areas. You know, the spawning snook, the juvenile snook. So it's really kind of neat.
And I
to do that.
I really love this time of year when we can kind of move into like pitching the docks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to catch.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a nice flounder, could be a snook, could be a redfish hanging around. So.
Not to mention the intensity of that when you hook up. Like,
Yeah,
especially throwing if you're going to pitch any artificials or even a live bait, but just when you feel that thump.
Yeah.
It's different than when you're in that open water and okay, well, you can kind of let them run a little bit. Now, when you're there's something else. When you're dock fishing and you feel that thump, you just know it's game time right then. And you got a few seconds to make it happen.
Trust me, man. I still have every once in a while I get excited over it enough that I've still got my Denny Brower hook set where I smack it and almost fall out of the back of the boat. But no, I love it, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm getting excited about that too.
Yeah.
Well, cool. What's been happening down on the South Shore?
The South Shore's been good. I mean, I tell you,
I've seen that. Some pictures from you this week.
Me too.
Fishing's been good. Bait has been tough. Not the last couple days, but today and then 2 days ago it was. The north winds are just starting to howl. We're starting to get some strong northwest winds, and the South Shore Tampa Bay, it can get a little bumpy. And so there is a little bit of bait on the flats. I've been fishing with some of the smaller baits in the last few days, really trudged out and trying to get some bigger bait, a little bit better quality bait. And so I've been to the bridge and I've been to range markers and gotten that whole battle of things kind of just prepped for winter.
In the wind.
Sure.
And but it's sort of paid dividends in fish. We've seen some quality fish come over the rail over the last few days, and so fishing's been really good. Bait is sort of in that transition mode too. You're going to start to see a lot more bait pushing off into some of this deeper water, which should make it locally a little bit easier for us to target.
And you guys have good backcountry areas over there, so it'll only get better and better for you, right?
We've got some good backcountry. One of the things that I'm looking forward to, and anybody that's watching that wants to get in on this, I'm going to be doing some skiff trips coming up over the next few months, and so it's a really unique opportunity. I'm limiting it to 2 clients, so that's why I say it's kind of one of those special things. Let me know if that's something that you want to do, because we'll kind of plan around that. But it's a unique opportunity to fish live bait in some areas where you really wouldn't be able to get to in some of the larger bay boats and charter boats in the area. So looking forward to doing some of that. We're just getting around to some of those good tides to be doing that. So
can I ask what type of skiff are you doing that out of?
I've got a 97 island skiff, which is just like a Florida Fisher that I rebuilt and got it all set up for wintertime fishing and doing some redfish. So
cool, man.
It's all set up for live bait and ready to roll. So I'm
cool.
looking forward to that.
Really? It blows me away, and all I can think about is negative low tide.
Right.
I mean, since I've been building it, this is the time of the year that I've been waiting.
Just talked to Rick
to
we've
use
got
it.
your number.
Yeah.
You're going to limit it to 2.
You know how to find
There you go, man. It's going to be an epic winter for me, I think. Just being able to get back to some of those areas where we haven't been able to fish.
Looks like Ernie's all over you there. Him and Mike.
Ernie,
Mike.
Come on, baby.
There you go.
It's all you. But anyway, to finish that off, so fishing's been good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of snook, redfish here and there. Been actually caught some redfish in the river the other day, so that was a good sign. And then the other one that I wanted to say, I'm gonna throw this out there for all the eaters. The pompano have been all over the place.
Nice, man. Nice.
All over the place.
Yeah.
We hadn't really been catching a bunch of them or targeting them, but every time that I've put a pompano jig on or silly willy and ran through some of the areas that I've been seeing these fish, we're catching them every time. So if you like to pompano fish, now's a good time to get out and do some pompano fishing before it gets super, super cold and they push up into the power plant where they run
I
offshore.
told you we had the one fly in the boat and bounce out the other day, right?
No.
I've actually had one come in, stay, and went home for
he
dinner.
didn't stay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
he got an invite.
You know what? When you're talking about these pompano jigs, I haven't done a lot of pompano fishing in that style. Are you using? Because we get in the shop, a lot of people come in and ask about the pompano jig, teaser, no teaser, color. Is there any advice you'd give them, or you've found over the years doing that?
For me on the pompano, I would definitely say the teasers work. I definitely think you get a few more strikes when you've got that teaser on there. But just any type of that, I would call them a silly willy jig head. It's that funny looking banana shape.
Docks make Docks
a
jig.
Docks jig head.
Bobs, there's so many now.
But the whole idea there is you want something flashy, you want something that darts around. You can use the regular bucktail type pompano jigs. I like bright colors, and you'll notice that most of the colors available for those are going to be bright.
Yeah.
That's your chartreuse, your
Yellow,
bright pinks.
pink.
Pink,
So, but if you're going to do a jig like that docks or that silly willy type setup, then I would definitely recommend using a teaser. And a guy that used to do the show with us, Neil, makes his own teaser for that kind of stuff. And I don't know if he's got a Neil Taylor.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there and is interested in pompano fishing, Neil Taylor is a great guy to get a hold of that does some artificial stuff and even makes his own teasers. So that's the guy I would fall on for that.
Well, they just have the reason I asked is there's so many selections. Like if you go into any store that I think is going to be serious about carrying pompano tackle, Tampa Fishing Outfitters being one of them, is there's probably 200 to 300 different combinations of colors, sizes, teaser, So it's
For
good
sure.
information, I think, for the
sure.
general
No,
public.
and it's one of those untouched areas. Like, oh, you've caught a pompano before, you know what I mean? Like,
They don't get a lot of pressure.
They don't get a lot of pressure, and you don't really hear a lot of people that are targeting them or sort of specializing in them. It's sort of one of those fish that when you run across them, if you're prepared, you can have a good time. But
sounds like my flounder fishing I've been doing.
Yeah,
you get a
I told
flounder
a buddy
spot.
I was flounder fishing the other day. He looked at me like I had two heads. I was like, what?
Hey,
I enjoy it.
it's especially this time of year, they'll stack up around those passes, those nice sandbars. But anyway, well, it's good stuff. So, what you been doing, brother?
Hey, man, been pretty busy lately. I fished this weekend with that really cold day, Saturday and Sunday, and vice versa compared to what you're experiencing. I'm getting really good bait, and it's still up shallow. In fact, I made quick work of bait. Both the weekend days. I've been doing some boat work this week, changing over, so I haven't really fished the last couple of days. But right after Thanksgiving's we'll be back out. What I found is you're talking about that transition to the residential. Up where I'm at, there's a lot of in between from where they've been to where they're headed that gives a lot of good pond fishing or mouths of these canals, and the bite has been on fire. If you can bring that bait up there and turn those fish on, I mean, it's as many fish as you can get in the boat.
Wow.
They're not all great trophy snook, but if you're somebody, especially right now, like kids or maybe somebody with a little less experience, I mean, we've had some numbers days that are hard to compare to. But I know that going into next week, I've got some people that want to go out and go after some big fish. So I can't wait to get back there into some of those docks or residential areas that I know that have typically produced. I'm sure they're already there based on what I'm seeing, but we marked temperatures on Saturday down to 66.
No
when I got in the
way.
water.
Wow.
In the
I
upper
fished.
I saw 64.
I was gonna say I fished the backside of the first front we had. Going into it, we were at like 74. Coming out of it, we were 64.
So it was about a 10 degrees. That's what I saw. 10 degrees.
Which that is that pivotal point. 70 to me is sort of make or break. Like that 70 puts us into fall. Plus 70, you're starting to come out of spring into summer. And so 70 is always the tip of the iceberg. And when it maintains and stays below that 60 or 70, that's when the rivers are going to stay consistent. The backcountry is going to stay consistent. When that water temperature doesn't get up much higher than that. So, good to know. Question: how has the trout bite been for you as of late?
Phenomenal.
Okay.
Trout for me has been really good. We've had some big trout, to be honest with you, which is different than what I saw last year at this time. Last year at this time, we were in really good numbers, and it looks like this fisheries continue to grow because we had some trips where finding the fish under 20 inches became the challenge. Not putting those fish in the boat.
It's a good challenge to have.
We're releasing a lot of them, which makes me happy to see that and release them and have a great groups of people that are all about seeing that gator and letting them go. So that's been cool. But I know for anybody that's going to want some to fill a cooler or anything like that, it's not going to work. But I'm happy with it. It's good for our fishery. The water, it just seems like everything turned on. And on a whim, early last week when I had just had a one-person trip, I asked him if he wanted to do some exploring with me, and he was all about it. And just everything with the water clarity shifting to how clear it was, that temperature, hovering 69, 70. Everything just happened, and they've been there since.
That's
so
cool. Bait or jigs?
We've been using bait. That gentleman, we fished jigs together, and it was we couldn't get the lure back to the boat.
Yeah.
So I know they're there in numbers. We released a lot of fish that day. But yeah, they really, and then I'll tell you, when it got too shallow in the days after that and it started to warm up, I saw that bite kind of taper off. So I think for me, where I'm at, they're still wanting to be fairly deep. I'd say when I got under 3 feet of water, I really wasn't seeing them in the holes.
Yep.
So yeah, but it's been really good. I'm encouraged by it.
That's good. That's good to hear. And like you said, that if you're catching consistent 20-inch fish in the same area, that says that's a really good area. You know, normally this time of year, I think Rick will agree. Rick sort of is the trout master. He gets that title. When Rick wants to go, don't let him fool you, ladies and gentlemen.
I
mean,
he's
maybe even embroidered on that jacket. I don't know.
I ran an event with this guy, and we were all talking at the dock, and it's a slam event, and we're like, man, I don't know how we're gonna get that trout. That's what everyone's sweating. Is like, man, we need that big trout. Rick's like, I ain't worried about a trout.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was
99 problems, but a trout ain't one.
That's right. But where I was going with it is generally speaking, that 20+ inch trout is normally out there by himself for 2s and 3s, and he's paired up with a 24, 25, stud. And a lot of times you'll catch those redfish or maybe in between a snook or something like that. So it's good to see. And I had a couple areas during the springtime where it was like that.
Yeah.
Where
I remember you talking about it.
It was consistent big trout. And it's good to see. It's good to see those fish healthy and enough of the smaller fish if you want to take a few.
You had a real good spot springtime.
So, springtime was good. It was.
Well, I remember when you guys were talking about
season.
it, and in my area, I was like, man, I can't get these bigger ones. Like, I'm just not coming across them, and now it's just.
It was a very good spot, man.
Yeah.
And hopefully, all those fish were released. Hopefully this year it continues and it moves into some other areas that are close. But Rick,
I think the biggest thing on trout fishing is a de-hooker's your best friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see these guys, they just pull them all up and wrap a towel around them to take the hook out.
Yep.
Man, don't ever touch them. If you're not keeping them, don't touch them. But
Yeah.
I want to get to a question, and as far as my fishing report, I've had some, and the guys that know, my father's very ill, and I have not fished in a week, and I got a couple trips coming up, and I'm probably not going to fish after that for a week or so. So I don't really have a fishing report, but been trying to spend time with him. But I saw a question that come up earlier, and I don't want it to get biased before we move on, but it's about fishing the river. I think you just passed it.
That was from Angelo.
Yep. What's your advice for someone has never fished? I'm assuming has never fished the river.
Yeah.
And I think I can speak for all fishermen that fish a lot in the river. You're going to want to find the deeper channels, and anytime you got a bend in the river, that's a spot to pay attention to.
A swash point. You're going to get a belly. You're going to get a belly in that
those
river.
fish will, at least I grew up fishing the Little Manatee River, and we got a lot of those areas like that, and those fish will move from. We got some areas that are 10 or 12 foot deep, and they'll go there, and then they'll move up on a good when it's cold and you get a good sunshiny day, and the sun starts to do some radiation, put some radiant heat on those sand shallow areas. Those fish will move up to that. That's what I would do. If it's overcast, fish them deep. If it's deeper, if it's sunny and the water's cool, they'll try to move up. And I'm really thinking more snook than anything. And also remember that snook's eyes sit right on top of their head. So in that real shallow water, a lot of times you'll see them in the shade, but their bodies will be in the sun, But and go slow. I mean, rivers. There's a lot of hidden bad things can happen in a river,
especially
if you don't know it. So I mean, you can
especially in our river.
Yeah, you can be in 15 foot of water, and 15 foot later you can be on the beach. So but just take it slow. But I would concentrate on those areas that had deep water access to real shallow water.
If you got an overcast day like that and you're going to fish the hole, is that split shot fishing or on a jig head with a shiner, or what's the
I'm
approach?
a big one that looks at sometimes you can have a high barometer on a overcast day. If the barometer's high, I'm going to the bottom with it. Because those fish are feeling that. But typically what I do, and I mean, this ain't no secret. I think most fishermen do this. When I start fishing for the day, I'm rigged up 2 or 3 different ways, depending on how many people I got on the boat. And to see what works, because you go fish a Tuesday, and this works, and on Wednesday that don't work no more, and you need to try another game plan.
Reminds me of my triple tail I've been chasing out there. When it started, I could catch them on just about anything, and now they're getting smarter and harder.
They get smart.
Well, I think what you've got, it seems like that's going to be the going trend soon. We're going to really have to think about, doing an episode where we really talk about river fishing and start to get more granular with it. For me, that's one of the best times of year. So we got to think about that.
It's my favorite time of year.
I no doubt. We're definitely going to do some winter time. It comes. That's all we're going to be talking about the next few months. So, guys, we're going to take a little break, and when we get back, we're going to be talking about something really different. Neil's been doing something, got something on the back burner, or on the front burner, I should say, and it's really interesting. So hang tight. We're going to talk all about it, and a little more fishing when we get back. Watching Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. See you, Rick.
Cool.
DTSP.
All right, we're back. Welcome to Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. If you're just joining us, myself, Captain Travis, Captain James, Captain Rick, we got Captain Neil in here with us. He is with the Ghost Trap Rodeo.
Yep.
All right. And we met Neil, about a week and a half ago or so?
Yeah.
And, excuse me, at the Florida Guides meeting. And got talking a little bit and thought it was really important to get in here and talk about this as soon as possible. You got an event coming up. So without me spoiler alerting it,
all right,
why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on and how people can get involved?
Without giving away the trivia.
Okay.
All right. I guess well, let him explain it, and then we'll do trivia sort of in the middle.
Okay. There we go.
That makes better sense.
All right. I'll give you the short story of how it came to be as well. So I grew up in St. Petersburg and grew up fishing the bay, like I said, fishing from mostly Gandy down to the beach passes and everything. And I can remember from the earliest days of running my my bass boat around and my gee-noos up behind Whedon and everything. I'd be, fishing for snook along a shoreline or drifting over a trout flat, and I'd see that box down there as I drifted over it,
Don't hit that.
Right. And I mean, for most of my life, I don't think I paid much attention to it other than to say, novelty, there's a crab trap with no line, no buoy, no nothing, But within the last couple of years, I started thinking about it and doing a little more research, and I found out that that FWC estimates, based on the number of traps that are permitted and fished recreationally, and the number of trap losses that they know they have after a hurricane or just a normal season, that we've got somewhere up in the neighborhood of as many as 10,000 traps that are abandoned or cut off by a boat or a storm or whatever it might be. And these traps, once they're lost to their angler, they can fish for up to another 5 years, before they degrade to the point of bycatch being able to escape. And as we all know, and watchers can imagine, when it's lost to the angler, it doesn't stop fishing. I mean, the crabs and fish keep going in. So
10,000 in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So
I know I've cleaned a few out. I know I've done my part in cleaning a few out of some of the passes and stuff. Moved them a few hundred yards down the shoreline.
Sure. Off your prop.
Oh yeah, it's like a weed guard.
60-degree water.
Weed guard.
The old trolling motors where you had that weed guard thing that went around it.
Right.
And it looked like a big badminton.
Yeah. Like a birdie.
That would work, except the prop won't spin.
I've peeled a few off of off the boats over the years.
Well,
but anyhow,
the crazy thing is just that in this day and age, when more anglers and watermen and women around our area are looking at conservation issues and how can we keep the bay, a strong fishery and give it longevity for our kids and everybody to be able to fish it and know it like we did. these issues about something like having ghost fishing gear that's out there in the environment that's fishing without us and putting a dent in our shared resources.
Right.
I mean, it makes it kind of an imperative for us to try to do something about it, you know. So what we did is we worked with CCA and with FWC, and now we're working with the Florida Guides Association too, of course. And together we put together a proposal to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and they saw fit to give us a grant. And that grant allowed us to start up a 6-event tournament fishing series. I said that kind of backwards, but you get the idea. Fishing tournament with 6 events, but instead of weighing in reds and sea trout, we're weighing in abandoned traps and other forms of litter that is in our watershed. And then we're giving top collectors really great prizes that are donated to us by industry sponsors.
That's really cool, and I think,
awesome idea.
And I think, you know,
Thanks,
CCA, you know, I remember when we were talking about the Star Tournament, and we're big supporters of that. And they had actually added a section to that tournament for collecting trash, remember? And that way everybody could get involved. And so I definitely think it's a wave going into the future that we all need to sort of get on and ride, because, you know, just like you said, it's a resource that we all share. Kayakers, from the
birders,
kayaker to
whatever.
Whatever it is, we do all share that resource. We're not all fishers. It's not all fishermen out there. So we sort of do have an obligation. And what I'd like to say too is to encourage some of the guys that know the waterways. You know, I can tell you right now that I'm going to do my best to get involved, but I was already telling Rick, you know, it's like, hey man, this might be cheating, man. I know where all the stuff's at. You know? But because we're in those areas, because we are in the same areas.
Probably who we need, though.
The crab traps are in. You know, they're mullet fish in those areas. All those, you know, areas that we fish are generally loaded with crabs, and so this gear is there. And so I think it's important to at least take, you know, an effort to maybe go and get involved with some of this. And if anything, just drive the boat. Take some people to the areas. Take some friends and let them collect, you know, the stuff up. But we sort of have an obligation as knowing the fishery, the estuary, where these things may possibly be to get involved.
Really benefit your own fishery too.
100%.
You're having a direct impact.
Exactly.
But, you know, you're right. The locals in that area need to get involved, but there's some carrots you're dangling in front of these guys too, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's
I know
not.
you've turned it into like a tournament style,
man.
which, you know, piqued our.
Yeah.
We're avid tournament guys here.
That's
right?
cool.
So.
That's cool. Yeah. Right.
So, but I heard like power poles. I heard Engel coolers.
Right.
I mean, this isn't like a gift certificate to Walmart. We're talking about some serious,
it's the real deal.
You know, prizes here, and some real industry names that have gotten behind you.
Exactly. Like you said, power pole, Engel, TFO, the rod company, of course, Shimano reels. We got Barracuda tackle on there, and a lot of others. You know. And we wanted to work with a model that our shallow water angling community was familiar with, and kind of roll with a sight fishing model. You know, we're employing the same skill set that you'd use to look for a snook up along a mangrove shoreline to look for a ghost trap in this case. You know,
Skiff.
Hey.
So let me ask you this: like, so this is a tournament style, right? Like you're doing a weigh-in.
Yep.
Well, so how does somebody go about winning? An event like this?
You know what? One of the things that we looked at was the nature of our search, and were we going to give our volunteer participants, which we've taken to calling rodeo wranglers, were we going to give them a quadrant that they were assigned and make them look inside of a quadrant? But the more I thought about it, I thought that, to me, that takes the fun out of it. You know, I wanted to be able to turn these men and women, other anglers like us, loose, you know, to go out there. If they have a spot that they fish and they know that there are 5 traps and they can go knock it out and come and start looking for other traps and have a great shot at winning that power pole on event day. Man, I want them to be able to go get it. I don't want to assign them a box.
Get the stuff out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. At the end of the day, that's really what it's for. There's definitely an incentive to it. But at the end of the day, you know, if your heart's not in cleaning up the estuary, you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And
you know?
I want to say it's free to participate. You get free lunch. You get a tournament bucket with all kinds of giveaways. Eric Botchnick from Mirror Lure, he gave us all these mirror lures to give away.
Cool. Y'all's team name.
I mean,
they're already collaborating over here.
Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters. Oh,
there you go.
Dude,
I like that.
That is
Hey,
That's really good.
that was
That's
spur of
Have
the
you been
moment.
thinking about that the whole ride,
Spur of
Rick?
the
I think he might
Oh,
have
yeah.
been.
Hey, I just got to. We got to stop, man. Eric,
I know.
Okay.
Eric Feldman, come on, dude.
That makes me want to just laugh out loud for.
Oh,
10
Eric.
Are you
minutes.
guys frying or smoking your turkeys? You have been laughing out loud for 10 minutes. And somehow in there you came up with the best Ghost Trap Rodeo team name ever.
That just
Right,
came
right.
I
out
saw
of
a
the
video
blue, man.
of the fire department where they dropped the frozen
Yeah.
turkeys in the grease.
Uh-huh.
No, my
That's the
God.
real deal.
Yeah.
So, hey, public service announcement.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You know,
Funny.
Yeah.
if you ain't never fried the turkey, hey,
Yep.
So
let
me
Uncle
ask you
Bill
this.
do it.
So have you already completed an event?
Yeah, we did our first
right.
one, October 27th at Fort DeSoto. We crushed it.
So you
Which
measure the
that's-
weight of
That's going to be
Debris.
the trivia.
Yep.
Yeah,
You,
Right.
got it. It's
wait,
coming.
you want me to tell you the weight now, or you want to
no,
wait?
No,
We're gonna
no,
wait.
That'll be our
Oh, you
trivia
wanna wait?
question.
I want to
Okay.
know the
We're gonna wait for the weight.
categories of this. So, we're talking about
Yeah.
derelict traps
Yeah.
here. So, it's the most derelict traps that somebody can bring in.
That's a great question. We have a formula that we use on event day where we give, let's say, 100 points for each trap that you bring in,
Uh-huh.
and then 10 points for each pound of debris that you bring
Gotcha.
in. We're kind of shuffling that around to make sure that we really incentivize pulling those traps.
Yeah.
So it might shift. It might not be 110, but that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a perfect segue to our first trivia.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you've already completed an event.
Yeah.
I was surprised by the number you gave me.
Mhm.
So the trivia question out there for the audience is, at the completion of this first event, how many pounds of total debris was brought in amongst the whole field? Right?
And you don't want me to say it.
I don't
No,
want the
not
answer
yet.
yet.
No,
Okay.
no,
All right.
we're
them
firing it off.
And we'll
Okay.
try to give you
In
guys
pounds.
Yeah, in pounds.
Pounds.
How much total debris? Maybe you can key in how many teams participated.
Okay, so we had 37 volunteers aboard 10 shallow draft vessels,
Okay.
tower boats and flats boats and john boats. And
It's
on the
3.7
trivia,
per boat.
we're not including the trap weights, right? We're just
No,
doing
just
the non-traps.
4 tons, little
Just
less.
the garbage. We
Just
just
the
bought the
Guys,
garbage.
10 total boats.
Yeah, so litter and such. Yeah.
10 boats.
Yeah.
Ken, that's why we're not ships.
I
We're not
like
ships.
Ken's style, man.
Ken,
Go big or
That's
go
what we're
home.
going for the next one.
Can I at least tell them how many traps we collected at
Sure,
event
yeah,
number
tell 'em how
one?
many traps.
All right. So at Fort DeSoto, between those 10 boats, they collected 25 abandoned traps out of the watershed there around the park. I mean, I think that's just an awesome impact
It
and
is.
limits the bycatch. Then the most bycaught species in those traps that our volunteers were pulling up were sheep's head.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah.
Definitely. Now,
Down,
so
down,
so
down.
Yeah, you
what
guys are
happens
very
to all the
optimistic.
you know?
Yeah,
So you
down
guys
there.
collect all this garbage, all this trash.
Yep.
Where does it go from there?
Keep going down, boys.
It actually, well, here's the really cool thing. Within the last week, we actually signed a new agreement with FWC, and they're using every single one of our found blue crab traps as new oyster reef habitat that they're going
Nice.
to be deploying
Yeah,
around the
that's
state.
really cool.
So they cover it with some kind of
Keep
a
going
concrete
down.
mixture, and then
Three-digit answer.
and then deploy it into the watershed, and they keep coming back and checking on it.
Nice.
And doing the oyster recovery.
Close,
Nice.
Jake.
Jace, you're
Yeah.
close.
And the
Close to
trash
being-
gets recycled. Whatever
is
we
close.
can of
That's
the
right.
plastics, it gets
I
recycled.
like how you
Sure.
put that back in and
Yeah.
make some fish
Yeah,
and stuff.
man. Yeah.
Well, these guys are getting closer, so we're going to let them keep chasing their
Let
tail
that
because you can't
chase.
Google this one.
Oh, Ken, you're
Ken.
close, buddy.
Ken's close. Ken's
All right.
close.
You're warm.
Eidos is
You're hot.
Matt, you know, ooh, man. All
Oh,
right,
you
we're
guys
just gonna
are
keep
in
going.
the
They're
ballpark.
firing away.
Yeah,
Fire in
you're
the hole.
ballpark.
Fire in the hole.
Bob, you're high. Matt, you're low.
Yep.
Or Manuel, you're low.
Yep.
Bob, you're high. Ken, you were low. Ernie, you're too high. But so that's really cool, man. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell us about?
Ken's a little high.
I know we've got to get to break shortly, but
Yeah.
why don't we get started on if somebody wants to get involved
Yep.
in the future?
Mhm.
There's more events coming up.
Oh yeah, we've
All
got
right.
5 more. The first one, the next one coming up is this coming Saturday, November 24th, and that's going to be at Warner's Bayou Boat Ramp in the Manatee River.
Warner's Bayou.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know that area,
I do.
right?
It's
Yeah.
if you fish down there.
Rick, Rick,
We got a ringer.
hey,
Man, I
the
fell into this
Ghostbusters
one.
on the
I
way.
fell into this one.
I think Vegas has us winning this
Yeah.
right now.
Worth it, yeah.
Home
Yeah,
field
it's,
advantage.
It's 59th Street's where the boat ramp is. It's
Yeah.
straight across from the
Getting close
from
by.
Cuts Edge Marina, the
Okay.
pass that goes into
Little higher,
Parousia.
Yep.
So it's not. I mean, it's the fat part of the river right across from there, and Sneed Island Boat Works is a good landmark.
If
to
you're a
go
guy
by.
that fishes south.
Eric, you're the
Bradenton.
closest
You'll
first,
know.
but not
You'll
too
know.
bad.
If you fish down there, you'll know.
You know, Rattlesnake Key, Miguel Bay,
Yep.
Kingfish Boat Ramp, you know, Palmasola, all that area right there. You're a short bump and run to get to
Eric is funny.
this boat ramp or to the quote-unquote weigh-in.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
now,
exactly.
Now, what's sort of the process, or do you launch from the same place?
Yep.
Is it just, do you have to be back at a certain time? What do we
So,
got?
as
Close,
a
Manny.
result of state rules and making sure that we don't impact
Little
any
lower.
traps that are being properly fished by area
Just a little
fishermen,
higher, Eric.
recreational or commercial, all of our volunteers are required to show up at the ramp before turning out for the search.
Right.
So they can come by boat and tie up to the ramp and
Just
come
a
on
little
shore for
higher.
a couple of minutes, or they can pull up and launch their boat at the ramp. But we have to give them like a 10-minute little conversation about what they're looking for, and they go out and conduct a 4-hour search between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and then they come back for the weigh-in process.
Just
And
a
that's
little.
short. We know everybody wants to go enjoy their
got a
Saturday,
winner.
so we give them food and give them the prizes, and we award about 5 or 6 of teams, you know, the top teams. So don't worry if there's
We've got a
somebody
winner.
who really knows it, like Rick does.
Yeah.
He's not sucking up all the prizes. You might get a
Good.
couple, but there's a lot of
Yeah,
prizes.
we don't
You hear
want
that,
to
Rick?
do that. We don't
Yeah.
really
You can't
want
suck
to
up all the
keep
prizes, Rick.
every
Rick.
cat-
Man, it
Jace,
don't
you already
matter if
won.
you
You can
fish
stop,
down
buddy.
there.
Team Ghostbusters.
410 was
That's
the
right.
total pounds, guys. We have a winner. It's
You can
Jace
only-
You can
Massaro.
only go pick
All
one up
right,
at a
buddy.
time. So if there's traps here and traps there, boats
Yeah.
go in different directions.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'll tell you, a lot
We've
of people.
really got to get into school.
And you can't
Yeah.
cut the
School-
buoys off, Rick.
Yeah, no, you
They can't
cannot.
be bright green,
You know what? That's a
perfectly new
good-
traps.
brand new ones.
After our break, I saw a video you did where
Yeah.
you educated the public on the definition of derelict traps.
Yep.
So obviously, we'll probably want you to share that in. But when
Yeah.
I know we're going to cut the break soon, but when we get back, maybe we can talk a little bit about that because we definitely don't want to ruin anybody's gear or pull anyone's gear
Exactly.
that's active and
Yep.
legitimately fishing.
Yeah, we know there's a
well,
few
if
of
it
y'all
ain't
out
got a
there
float
that,
on it, ain't
that you know,
That's right.
would not feel bad about hacking some traps up to get a new
Yeah.
power pole. So that's not
Yeah.
what this is
Yeah.
about.
No, we're trying to stay on
But-
the right side of the commercial fishermen here.
Poly-
So. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
guys, we're coming on to the.
Congratulations, Jace.
You won.
Oh, we got a winner.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got a
Jace.
winner.
We'll
put you a
Jace,
prize pack
You can
together.
come get with me, buddy. I know we talk on Facebook all the time, so you just hit me up and we'll figure out a way to get your prize to you.
What
Good
is this
deal.
And
prize?
we'll also figure out a way to figure out what the
prize
prize
is.
is.
He's
Yeah.
gonna record the
That's a
birthday
good buddy
song
of mine.
for him.
I'll tell you what, Jace, who hopped on our show that one time, he's been
Uh-huh.
a huge supporter of the show, man. I've been
Good.
just following him, and
That's
he's
cool.
a young guy out there kayak fishing down the South Shore. So we definitely appreciate it. Glad you won that one, Jace.
Absolutely.
job.
Guys, hang tight. We're going to hear a few words from the sponsors, and when we get back, we're going to be talking more Ghost Trap Rodeo and answering any other questions that you guys may have.
Yeah.
Stick tight.
All right, guys, we're back with the Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. We've got your usual slate of captains, plus our buddy Neil join us tonight, telling us about the Ghost Trap Rodeo. Although there is a matter of business we need to get to, we were reviewing some of the answers,
Yeah.
and it looks like Eric Feldman, unfortunately, pal, you exceeded your answer limit.
Oh, you blew it.
And
Yeah.
With that, there's a fine.
There's a
Um,
a fine.
and
He was
case.
only over by
I'd
one,
say-
too,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, he
Oh.
just
Case
exceeded
of-
that one.
A case of what you want to say? Turnkey beef jerky?
Yeah.
Let's call
For
it
sure.
turnkey beef jerky because I think we're
All
all
right.
fans
All right.
of that product. You
Yeah,
know, we
yeah.
have a lot in the
For
shop,
sure.
and it's slow for us down here as
Right.
guides a little
Yeah.
bit, so we could use a little
Kind
pick
of
me
a
up.
variety of pack.
Yeah.
A variety pack would be
So let's
good.
just
That'd
do
be
a
good.
few of
There we
each
go.
flavor, Eric.
Yeah.
If you'll
That'll work.
send
We
us.
appreciate that. Turkey,
done.
how about that for
Yeah.
turkey?
Yeah.
But seriously, Eric, one of our listeners, turkey jerky guy, awesome beef jerky made over on the East Coast, all kinds of cool flavors.
And we're baking our turkey. How about y'all?
bacon. Yeah, I'm baking.
We never did answer him.
Yeah, we're baking it. But so let's get into that. Before the break, we talked a little bit about separating what's derelict, what's active.
Yep.
What's your advice? And I know you've got a video that can help educate. I watched it. And it's very detailed, so I think that's a good resource for everyone who either wants to understand that or is going to plan on getting involved. It's a good resource to watch. So we'll definitely have you share that. But in a nutshell, how are we? What are we saying here?
Well, it's let's see. So the best way to think about it is that when you come up to if you see a buoy and it's covered in barnacles and growth and that kind of thing, and you look at it and you say, I think this was here in 1995. You're through our permit that we've received from the state, we're allowed to go ahead and pull that trap line up and take a look at the trap, because in many cases the trap half of it's been eroded away.
Sure.
It's been rolled along the bottom or whatever, and it's broken apart. And as soon as you see that one of its 6 sides has been compromised and it's no longer intact, you can go ahead and pull that out. Cool. Obviously, right? But if you find a trap that has 6 intact sides, it needs to meet a little litmus test in order to be pulled.
Okay.
And that is, if it's missing any of the following 4 things that I'm about to say, if it's missing 3 of them, you're allowed to pull it.
Okay.
If it's missing a buoy, a line, a current commercial trap tag issued by the state FWC for commercial traps, or 4th, a identification card. And traps, most people don't really realize it. I think the commercial guys do, of course, but recreational guys, they don't understand that an identification card is required on recreationally fished traps. So if it's missing a buoy and a line and its identification card, you can go ahead and pull it.
Okay.
That kind of thing. It's
Well,
got to be
good.
missing 3 of those 4 characteristics.
Excellent.
I didn't know that.
Let me ask you a question.
Me
So obviously you're pretty well educated and have dealt with this with FWC on some of this stuff.
Yep.
How many, we say, well, there's 10,000, ghost traps in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
How many of those are commercial, and how many of those are recreational? Because I would almost bet that, obviously, a recreational angler is only allowed to have 5 traps fishing, but I can imagine that most of those get lost. Because they're not out there every single day pulling a trap or this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Is there a statistic on that?
You know what? There's not. And just due to the nature of the situation, with it being kind of a hidden issue, the only ones that we're seeing are the ones up in the shallows. But, the ones that are 8 feet or deeper or whatever, you're never going to see it, So it makes it hard to gather data on those kinds of things.
Sure.
But I want to say that in my experience, I think the commercial guys are on it. They know their business.
Right.
These traps are not cheap. They don't want to lose.
cost.
And that's sort of where I was going with it.
I
Is
figured.
most commercial guys know where they set their traps.
Yeah.
And they're checking their traps so regularly that they're going to know if they're missing 10, 15 traps on a string. And they're going to be looking for the guy that's sitting beside him. You know what I mean?
It's the hurricanes or like major storms that roll through.
Right.
When guys can't get back out to their trap line in time, and they just crush them.
Right.
Our boats run along them, and somebody clips one, and that's how we end up with traps out there off the beaches and everything.
Sure.
And
guys, this is stone crab traps, blue crab traps, pinfish traps.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just. I guess I was just going. It's just not your typical blue crab trap. It could be any type of debris, any type of trash that you find in the bay.
That's exactly right.
What do you do with the traps?
Well, like I said, FWC has taken all of our blue crab traps, and they're turning it into the substrate, I guess it would be called, the kind of bottom structure for oyster reef restoration projects that they're working on. So they've got a couple of sites around the state, and they're taking our traps. We're estimating that we're going to come up with about 750 traps by the end of the project, and they're going to take them all from us and use them for new oyster beds.
That's awesome.
That's cool. It's like the wire mesh. Like if you're gonna, they pour those.
I was just thinking
those,
the crafters,
those pyramids.
those people that do craft stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, yeah.
Or antiques or whatever, especially like that weathered material.
Yeah.
But the good, the positive side is out of our bay. You know?
That's right.
And nobody's running it over. No fish are getting
We don't
harmed.
have sheep's head and pinfish and all that
All
stuff
dying.
in them, and rebaiting the trap so that the next fish
So
swims
keep your
in,
pinfish
and crabs swimming in by
healthy
them.
for the long term.
Hey, you got to watch out for the power of the pins, baby.
I saw the little video.
all
you shared
about
that
all
snook.
about the pin. Did you see that?
That was sick.
Is that gnarly?
I didn't watch it the first time without
the volume?
with the volume.
You got to listen
And
to
then
the
I was
volume.
like, dang, I was in my truck.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it on Bluetooth. and you hear that snook come by and suck that pinfish in.
This is the underwater video.
Yeah,
That's
see that?
kind of like along the bottom.
And
yeah,
then,
that was crazy.
You know, I had that video is not new.
Laser fast.
Yeah. It's been I saw that video a few years ago actually, and
so
it
that's
popped
what got
up.
You fishing the pinfish.
Well, oh yeah, for sure. No, but I had seen that video, and it's funny. I think I told Jason about it, you know, and I could never find it again, and it came back up, so I shared it. But it's a really cool video. If you haven't seen it, you can go on my page and find it, and I'm sure other people have shared it. But it's a really cool video of a snook sort of cruising along the bottom. Looks like in a pass, hard shell bottom, and it looked like I don't know what kind of fish it was. I can't tell if it was a snapper or a mahara or some kind of sand perch or something that darts out and kind of. It was kind of neat with the video because the guy takes the spotlight and shines it on the bait fish.
Yeah.
And the snook's like, all right, I got you, bro.
yeah.
And he literally like drives the snook right to the bait and he hammers it in the video.
And even for guys like us that have caught a whole bunch of snook, you are watching it and you know that snook is about to crush this thing. But when you watch it, it still happens faster than you imagined it.
Oh yeah,
happen,
definitely.
You know?
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
like
cool
so
stuff.
that's what that feels. That's that feeling.
Yeah, when you feel that thump,
that's
man.
cool.
Yeah, but speaking of Jason, you're making me want to put up my fiddler arm for him. Man.
Fiddler arm, baby.
Oh man.
Fiddler up.
Fiddler up.
Rick, I thought about you last week when you was in Georgia. They started getting into the sheep's head.
Really?
And I just
Fiddler up, baby.
One up, baby. One up. About that
time.
About that time. Well, guys, we're got a few more minutes left here of the show. If you've got any other questions, maybe we'll scroll up through and see if we missed any. But if there's anything you want to cover.
Oh, you know what I need to what we should cover?
Let's cover it.
Is the sale going on at the shop.
Hey,
I mean, we almost missed that. So we got Thanksgiving tomorrow.
You might want to talk about Friday.
But no, I mean, it's been out there everywhere. I'll tell you what, between my social media messages, the phone ringing at the shop, my buddies knowing my affiliation with Tampa Fishing Outfitters.
Yep.
I mean, so we're doing 20% off the entire store for 2 days straight. So Friday, Black Friday, and Small Business Saturday, 20% off everything in the shop. So, you know, we get a lot of calls like 20% off everything?
Right.
20% off everything. A Shimano Stella, a Penn Pursuit, a St. Croix rod, a G. Loomis hat, whatever you want.
All the X-Wraps you can handle.
All the X-Wraps you can handle. Even if something's on clearance and it's already discounted.
Is that one item?
No, the store. Everything you bring to the counter.
Wow.
You can even come back twice.
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, you can even shop Friday or Saturday.
And I can attest to how well it's stocked.
It's gonna be
up
huge.
Oh yeah, this is your first time here.
Yeah. I was walking up and down the aisles going crazy, man.
You know what?
Everything they make, it's here.
We looked at last year. Like last year was our biggest Black Friday, and we need it, guys. I mean, and anybody who's runs a small business right now attached to saltwater fishing in this area, in one way or another, you've been somewhat affected.
Yep.
So last year was a really big Black Friday for us, and it made our year. We looked at what was successful. We did from 12 o'clock to I think 4 o'clock. We had a short period where it was 20% off. Majority of everything we did was during that. So we said we're going to extend it. Let's make it 2 days worth of that. That's what everyone wants. We've got feedback. So here it is. You guys asked for it. Let's try to break another record. You're going to get a deal on things. You're going to be helping out a small business, a local business. So try to make it in. Whether it's a big purchase or a small purchase, it's definitely going to help us out, and you're going to get something back in return for it.
That's right.
Also, cast net deal. Trade.
That's big.
That's
huge.
Yeah,
huge.
What's that about?
So bring in any net, any old, dilapidated, derelict. These are our words of choice. These are like the big words we've been using the last two shows a lot.
Dolphin smashed,
punctured. Whatever. If you hung it on a trap, whatever.
Jason Thompson.
Come
on down. I know you got one.
Yeah.
Because I saw it this morning.
Yeah.
Bring in any old net, meat grinder,
any old cast net. 50% off a new humpback.
Wow.
I mean, you're not going to beat that.
Nice.
Not going to beat that.
I did the deal. I looked at it today. You get a 10-foot 3/8 net. It's like $115.
Hey,
a 10-foot 3/8 net for $115 if you bring in an old cast net.
And that's a humpback.
It could be a Walmart special. It could be anything. Yeah, it's towards a humpback.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, so that deal Friday and Saturday, it's the only time it's going to happen all year. So, got to get down and do it. But just want to take care of that business. But I'm sure there's no way
that business.
Anybody out there is just fine about this now. It's been everywhere. So got to make it down.
Nice. Nice.
That's cool.
Well, guys, like I said, we got about 10 more minutes. Let's do this. You know, I think we all sort of noted on this on the front side of the show is that we're starting to see wintertime fishing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all starting to be bundled up. Jason's got him a brand new pair of Grundens down there.
Oh, yeah.
I got me a new pair of boots. It's coming. Yeah. So over the next few weeks, what do you expect, or what do you expect to be doing? What do you plan on doing with your clients in the next few charters? And I'll sort of start off with it.
Go ahead.
I think the snook bite is going to continue until we get to that point where it is just brutally cold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of going to be a for sure thing, or definitely a hat.
Hang your hat on it.
Hang your hat on the snook.
Yep.
And then when weather permits, we're going to be doing redfish and trout when they finally move in.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the big push of trout yet. I think because bait's still on the flats, everything's still sort of right there at that pivotal point. Mm-hmm. When everything makes the make or break moment and pushes to the backcountry, I'm going to be A game in the trout, and then between trout and snook, and then when it gets super super cold, we'll fall back and do the sheepshead stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'd say we're a good month away from
getting
that
close. You
from
can
that
feel
type
it.
of scenario. But that's what we're leading up to.
Give it to us, Neil.
I'm almost hesitant to even mention this on here right now, I know we've got some regular watchers and everything, so I want to go ahead and say it. But last year I was still catching snook out of schools of fish on the front side of Egmont Key a day before Christmas. So I think that,
there we go.
it's so funky the way that it works. You get a couple of days of nice warm weather, and all of a sudden a few of them will push back out there or whatever, and they know they're coming back, but they'll show back up.
For sure.
So I like to bounce around. I don't get locked into any one little area or anything like that. I like to keep going out and checking on things and seeing what's going on.
Absolutely.
And I had that fishing all to myself for a week last year. I had my brother out there in a Santa hat catching snook in a foot of water,
Right.
It's just awesome, man.
Right.
Yep.
What are you thinking about, Rick?
I'm not really thinking about a whole lot, but no. I've already kind of moved a little bit into the river already.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the fish they're showing up. So a month from now, I'm definitely going to be in the river.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get that info to you, Angelo. We're going to get Neil to kind of share some of that information on the page. He was asking about the next event. So we're going to get a lot of information kind of flooding the page and get those resources out to you. I'm going to change gears on all three, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to do everything you guys are talking about with the snook fishing, the cold weather, waiting on those trout and redfish to push in. But what I'm most excited about is getting out the long rod and getting on my buddy's skiff.
Cool.
And starting to hit them on fly again.
Nice,
Last
man.
year, just where I call home is for my fishery, just an epic tailing redfish bite on these cool, calm mornings with lots of fog. As soon as that fog breaks, it's, for me, whether I catch a fish or not, there's nothing more exciting than that thrill.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more rewarding either than when you land one on a fly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. I started looking at some Instagram photos from last year and Facebook stuff of like late December, early January, and that's it for me. The lowest water possible. My buddy Captain Keaton Anderson, who's also working the shop, he's got a skiff that we can pull dead quiet up on them, and I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
I remember growing up, I used to fish all the McDill little mangroves and everything back in there. I can remember standing back in there and having the jets take off the runway and send the little twisters off of the wings, and they'd come ripping through the mangroves.
Cool.
And I'd be in there with the long rod. I had some fly rod back there.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So cool.
Good stuff, man. That was a great show.
That's
stay tuned because we'll get some of that information out. Neil,
for sure.
Awesome having you, brother.
Thanks so much. I appreciate
for coming on, man.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, man.
You will. This won't be the last
Rick,
you see
man.
of us.
All right.
Team Ghostbusters in the house.
All right.
Guys, before we wrap it up, one more time, Neil, we appreciate you coming in. Why don't you give us the information on how to get a hold of you if somebody wants to go for a fishing charter?
Okay.
And then one more time, how they can get involved with the Ghost Trap Rodeo.
Okay, cool. My website is gofishtampabay.com. Pretty easy to remember. And for the Ghost Trap Rodeo, you want to navigate to oceanaid360.org. oceanaid360.org. It's our nonprofit that manages the Ghost Trap Rodeo project. And we've got a little registration page there. It couldn't be easier to navigate. I think the process of registering takes you about 45 seconds. So please give it a shot.
Good deal.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, it's going to be another good week, I think, until we get super, super cold. So get out there, do some fishing. If you're looking forward, or if you're looking for a charter, give one of us a call, shoot us a message, find us on Facebook, Instagram, or out there on the water, guys.
And from all of us, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day, guys. We'll see you next week.
Turducken.
Okay.